Hello, everyone. I'm Jay Ragnarok,
I'm Chad.
I'm Brandon Lee.
and this is the Local Opener podcast, where we come together with members of the local hard rock and heavy metal scene in our home state of Pennsylvania and get their stories on how they've integrated themselves in the scene, what motivates them, and so on and so forth. Uh, on today's first episode, it is our inaugural episode, and you are going to take this time to get to know us. So, first,
Fasten your seatbelts.
yeah, fasten your seatbelts. It's gonna be either a very wild or potentially very boring ride, one of the two. Hopefully it's interesting for you guys. Cabal, I'd like to start off with you, or Chad, whichever you prefer to go by. What brings you into the scene? Like, I know you run an entertainment company. How did you get into the music scene? How did you get into your entertainment company? Like, what got you into all this?
Yeah, Chad or Cabal works. So that's what everybody like Cabal Entertainment. And actually, when I was real young, like I grew up in a big family. So with my brother being 5 years older, I found music, and I was an adrenaline junkie. So I started skating at like 7 years old, and found hip hop. And the album that did it for me was Nirvana's Bleach.
Mm-hmm.
Was what I was like, holy fuck, this is amazing. And then just skating, which was real cool, was a mixed genre coming in the 90s. So it kept going. And then I was doing this in my 20s. I was promoting. I actually came up with Nick from 717, and then I started dipping into opiates and heroin. So that kind of put a stop to everything.
Yeah,
So I
getting real heavy real quick up in here.
No, but no, dude, it's been so much fun, and this is such a cool industry, and I love music, and I actually got my shit straight, do a lot with the community here, and that's like what the bunkhouse is, and so just to be able to put these bands on and amazing. I mean, it's just, yeah, like, right. It's so cool to have these guys here, and I basically did it to get back, and
right. So you're basically saying that getting into the music scene is like what got you off of it, or like what are you alluding to there? Is like you wanted to get like clean or something, and like kind of redirecting yourself in this direction kind of stirred you to the right path?
Yeah, I mean, and we were good at seeing. The coolest thing is I've hit, being from around here, I got to hit two separate like gaps of time. That was a great music community around here. I came up with like Hailstorm. I used to work with Crowbot. We had Breaking Ben, and you had big, and then hip hop was big here, and that's what we were doing. It got to my head. I went through a divorce. We were starting to do really cool shit and working with like KRS-One, and doing big stuff. And when I relapsed, nobody wanted to work with me. They told me to get my shit together. And when I did, I came back and everybody was loyal, man. And ever since, it's just been, this is fun. It's my therapy. It's my help. Like, dude, music creates and live shows drop so much more dopamine for me than any other drug you can imagine. Like,
yeah, I can respect that. Yeah. Well, dude, I'm like incredibly proud of you for cleaning yourself up and focusing on something that's a little bit more positive.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thank you.
Now
you smell a lot better.
All right, Brandon, what about you? What is it that you do? What got you into the scene? How did you get to where you're at today?
Well, what I do is big fan of your hat, by the way. Like your hat. I'm the guitarist for a band hailing from Hellertown, PA, called When Hell Ascends Tonight, and
oh dang,
and that actually just happened. Well, I mean, I've kind of been in there like the past month and a half, but they just officially like revealed who I was to them, and now I am now a part of them. what was it, last week? I believe it was last Thursday. They posted it online on all their platforms and stuff.
Right. Well, by the time this video drops, it'll be about 2 weeks ago, but still.
True. Yes, this isn't live.
So, becoming a part of When Hell Ascends Tonight, they came out with like a series of like little skit videos. How did the idea for that come up?
Well, that was I think initially it was Matt's idea, the drummer. He's like the band dad.
Right.
Like he's the only original member from the band. He's one of the founding members, but also the only original one left. And he kind of wanted to make, I mean, it made sense. He wanted to make as much content as possible out of this reveal.
Right. And
we just wanted to like drag it out a little bit. Like, we didn't want to drag it out too long. We didn't want to make it seem like, you know, but getting the most content out of something is like, you know, that's something you got to do as an artist. You got to get your name out there somehow. And just because that the reveals are done, it doesn't mean that like the content's going to start slowing down. Like, we got a bunch of other stuff we've been talking about doing.
Yeah, exactly.
So like,
that's actually like one thing I can get like really behind is like the whole content creation thing, because that's a lot of what I do. And if you want to promote, that seems like if you're not on TikTok, if you're not on Instagram, if you're not on Twitter, Facebook, whatever, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice, because that is where everybody is. So
pretty much,
like, if you're not taking advantage of that, like, you're not like gonna help yourself by any means at all. So like, what were you doing before When Hell Ascends Tonight? Like, what were you getting yourself into before those guys?
Okay, you know, everybody has that friend where like they get screwed up in life and they're bouncing from couch to couch. All right, I wasn't there. That wasn't me. Like, not in that literal sense. I was bouncing from band. I was the one bouncing from band to band.
Right.
Like, it took knock on wood, it took a while to find the right one. I mean, I believe that this group of When Hell Ascends Tonight, I believe we're gonna, you know, this is gonna be amazing. Right. Like, the possibilities are endless. But before them, I had a couple side projects that just went south. Some band members had some personal problems, which I don't judge them for. You know, shit happens.
Yeah.
But due to that, a couple side projects I was in before fell apart. I was in a couple other bands. I didn't play any shows with this band, but when Blood and Earth, they've actually been playing a lot of shows lately.
Yeah, I heard of those guys. I see them like all over Instagram.
Yeah, no, they're good dudes. And Chick, Sue's the bassist, is a female bassist. She's awesome. She's got an attitude. She's definitely an acquired taste, but she's cool. She's fucking cool. Like, me and her never had no issues. But I can definitely tell that, like, you know, she'll set your shit straight. If she don't like it, you'll know it. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, you almost have to have people like that in the scene. And Chad, I imagine like you've probably dealt with people who are of the same caliber, where it's just like, you know, like, listen, like, business is business. Like, if we want to do this and do it right, we should really, you know, focus on that. Like, with you booking shows and being like a part of an entertainment company, I imagine you probably run into that a lot more than, say, maybe some bands do.
And with the whole thing with going with you have divas, and it's not always the band members. I think for me, it's more you get the club owners, different things to deal with that, and you're trying to please everybody. So it's sometimes, honestly, man, I had to learn. So I was really, and I'm still relaxed with my shows, but I wasn't really going on like the set time. Like, we were doing set times and like times for everybody to play, but we were running over. So a lot of it, I actually just had to kind of learn along the way and sure things up. So it was now taking it serious, and I keep a small circle, man. Like, it's just like, and it's business. I can't imagine the bands, because I mean, there's financial transactions with like pay to play and this kind of stuff, but for me,
we could do a whole show just on pay to play.
Yeah,
and our opinions on that, because Yeah, it's a real hot button issue for me, especially recently. So, but
Yeah.
anywho, like, go ahead.
But no, and it's just like, and for the bands and stuff to come in, and you guys like, even raising the money, a lot of people don't understand how expensive this is to begin with, and then
Oh
all the
yeah,
time. And the thing that I learned so much from is doing this is how much practice everybody puts in, how much time and money of their own stuff to just come on and for a 35-minute set and go off, like, you know. And I mean, it's such a cool thing to me, and it's nice for me to be able to give an outlet to that. So, but I'm
Speaking as one of the sorry, but
no,
speaking as one of the people that put out all the money to play those sets, it's not just about playing a 30-minute set and leaving.
yeah,
The money you're putting into your gear, you know, you use it for recording singles, albums, EPs, whatever. And it's not just a show. Like, doing that stuff full time is like my end goal personally. Like, that's what I want to do for a living. This 9 to 5 shit can kick rocks. I'm done with it. Like, I want to
wholeheartedly agree.
Yes, like, this music is my passion. It always has been, and that's why I'm like so fucking pumped to be a part of what. And I'm just so excited about what the future holds. I can't wait.
Right. So, in a roundabout way, some things like you guys were saying kind of leads into my story a little bit, right? So, like, about 20 years ago, and I promise you I am not that old. I am only 32. But, like, I really wanted to be a musician, right? Because, like, around the time I was 14, so maybe more or less like 18 years ago, but around the time I was like 14, 15 years old, I was like really into like Slipknot and System of a Down. I started delving into more like punky style bands like Green Day, and then I started getting into Avenged Sevenfold. And like my cousin, who like he got himself a drum set for his birthday or Christmas or something, and we were like, you know, doing some stupid little MySpace page of us like playing very mediocre drum pieces, like not doing anything in particular. And like I really wanted to be, yeah, I really wanted, yeah, that dates us all, I assume. But I really wanted to be a musician, and my dad. And before I say this, I'm going to preface this by saying, like, he wasn't doing this in an attempt to, like, shit on my dreams or not be supportive. In a roundabout way, this will come full circle. So, hear me out here. So I went to my dad and I was like, hey, like, you know, I want to be a musician. Like, can I get an instrument? And, you know, at the time we lived in an apartment complex and we had a lot of bitchy neighbors. So they were like, no, like, you can't do that because of the noise. And he's like, and that's not something I really want for you to make a career out of because there's no money in it. There's no money in them fluff jobs, right? Now, something you got to know about my dad and the company he keeps and you know, the folks he grew up with is he's a very blue collar, you know, practicality over passion type of guy. Like, do the stuff that you need to survive, and then if you can, you know, if you can do something with the hobby, then go and do it. You know what I mean? So it's like I said, it's not that he wasn't being supportive, he was being practical. And there's a lot of bands even now who will say, like, to an extent he's right, you know, like being in a band sometimes can be a money pit because whatever money you make goes into merch, goes into your gear. And like the guys in Elsewhere, like they were pretty much saying there's been times where they've even lost money on shows, but they played it because it's, you know, it's exposure, you know.
Yes.
So like to an extent he was right. So that kind of like stifled my, you know, wanting to become a musician. And then I went to school for child development and I didn't do nothing with that anyway. But then I started like going to a lot more shows, like especially like post COVID, right? Like I went to a show like before COVID, I went to at least one show like a year, at least. And they were generally like bigger shows like Mayhem Fest. I went to a couple like Rock Allegiances. I went to Chicago Open Air once. And like I've been a big fan of hard rock and heavy metal ever since I was, you know, like I said, about 14 years old. But it was after COVID that I started getting really into the local scene, right? So, like, my first show back, if I remember correctly, it, in the first couple shows back, I remember seeing bands like Gemini Syndrome and Cradle of Filth and stuff like that. And then Suicide Puppets would be opening for those guys. And I was like, okay, like these guys are from Harrisburg. Okay, cool. Like, you know, they're fairly local. Like I got into them. They were super cool dudes, and I've seen them multiple times. They've always been nice. And then I went to an XL live show where Puppets were doing like a music video recording, and I'm like, I want to be in it. And that's actually where I got introduced to two more of the locals who are a part of my like five pillars, so to speak. And that being Elsewhere and Eternal Frequency, and that like kind of like got me more hooked into the local scene. But like what finally drove the nail into what I got going on is when I went to the V Spot bar, and a good buddy of mine invited me out. His name's Gavin. He's the guitar player for Escape Artist. He's like, hey, we're doing a show out in the V Spot. You should come out and, you know, check the show. And I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, I can actually make this one. I'll go. I went and I saw it was them, Toothless, Cruel Bomb, and Traverse the Abyss. And it was at that moment I was like immediately hooked to the local scene, right? So it's like, and like all of those guys turned out that night, and I was like, oh wow, I really want to do something with this. And ultimately I didn't do a lot with it. Like I started looking into more local bands, but I didn't get into JRagnarok Promotions up until like earlier this year. And oddly enough, at another Traverse the Abyss show, it was like when Eric called out mid-set, he's like, oh hey, like everyone give Keith, that's my name outside of JRagnarok, give Keith some love, because he comes out and supports every local band, you know, whatever. And I was like,
ain't that awesome?
I was just like, that is the coolest shit ever. I used that as like a jettison to start JRagnarok Promotions. Now, when JRagnarok Promotions isn't your typical like promotional company, right? It's not like, I don't book shows, I don't do any of that. Basically, like my promo in the literal sense of the term is I am going to be your biggest cheerleader, right? Okay. So like I try to do like reaction videos to rock and metal bands of any genre. I don't care if it's rock, metal, deathcore, pop punk. Like as long as you're a rock band from Pennsylvania or have residence in Pennsylvania, you'll get the smoke, right? So you'll get my love regardless. And like that's kind of how I ingratiated myself into the local scene. So like yeah, like JRagnarok Promotions has been wild. Like it's because of like starting that, like I've been integrated in with like a lot of the shows. I've been helping some of the bands. Like a lot of them have been sharing my stuff. Like it's been like, it's because of this that I'm even booking my own show. Like,
congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, like you blew up quick with it. And the thing is that I learned along the way with all this, like in the promotions and stuff, but I love that feeling that you got when you were like, all right, I found home. Like, yeah. You know, that like, and when I think my first concert, I think I was like 9 years old. It was Chicago and Phil Collins. But and then going up,
live.
Yeah, and I've been doing this for a long time. I spent so much money on it, and I'm thinking tickets and stuff, and I finally was like, yo, this is a way to do this. Like, I can open up my own spot. Because the coolest thing is watching this happen. Like, watching these, like, I have little kids here dancing. We have bands that, like, I love to bring in. And the cool thing about it, I'm proud of, is we bring a lot of bands in for the first time, and then you start seeing them get booked everywhere. I take a lot of pride in us. And there's just, dude, Central PA, it's phenomenal. Like, the music right now is insane. Like,
and I wholeheartely agree, right? So, like, and I know, like, I've been a lot more long-winded with the story, but I have to say this, is, like, when it boils down to it, and, like, honestly, I think when it comes to local scenes, is it's like there's nobody that can do it better than Pennsylvania, there's nobody that can do it better than Texas, and there's nobody that can do it better than California. New York. I'll give New York the rub on that one too, because they do produce some good bands. Like New York hardcore, there's no competing with that.
Yeah.
But like, dude, like so many bands in Pennsylvania have been getting huge opportunities. Nailbite, they've been playing festivals out the wazoo. You know what I mean? Like Traverse the Abyss, they just played Incarceration, and now they're going to Louder Than Life, and they're going on a Midwestern tour with Edema and Smile Empty Soul and Deep Within.
My wife actually got to introduce them the one night at a charity show. So
yeah, well, that was the Team Tinman benefit, wasn't it? Yeah, I was at that show. Like,
he was so happy.
Oh, dude, that show was incredible. But like when it comes to bands from Pennsylvania, like I know Texas, New York, and California are all like a breed of their own, but Pennsylvania I think is a very different breed, and I think we produce some of the best stuff. Like, let me tell you something. Like, Brandon, you weren't with them at the time, but when I first saw When Hell Ascends Tonight, dude, I immediately fell in love with those guys, because it's like I haven't heard of them before that show that I saw them. I went and they knocked me on my ass. Like, they were incredible, and it's just like just being able to see all these bands I follow get all these opportunities, like, you know, has been super cool to see, because it's like I feel like any underground band or indie band or whatever you want to call them deserves opportunities like this, especially when they put in the work to get there. Promote your shit. Promote your shit. Like, promote your shit. Content. Like, well, and that's the thing. Like, and trust me, there's even been points where I've been feeling a little bit of burnout from it. But content is key, man. Like, that's going to be what gets your name out there. So, like, so Chad, like, what got you into the local scene? Like, was there any specific band, a specific show or moment, like anything like that?
Yeah, I grew up when HMAC was amazing. We had some real cool clubs here, the Vault, Mars, Wanda's. So we had a lot. That was the time when a lot more bigger bands were coming in. But for me, getting in here was it was hip hop. A really good friend of mine was a really good MC, so I got into that side of the business. But as for metal and it's just been fun. I just freaking love it. There is nothing better than that moment, and it's weird because some people don't want to go to shows with me because I just get lost. Right. So I'll just sit. I'm banging out, and and then you get that click moment where the band is just on the same vibe as the audience, and it's just that killer feeling, man. And
got a bunch of strangers on the floor swinging fists, having a good time.
Metal's the greatest thing, dude. You can punch somebody in the face in the freaking pit. You're both bleeding. You help each other up. You give each other a hug. Like,
It is a very beautiful thing, and like, Brandon, I'll actually have you lead in on this with the whole like making friends at shows thing, because that's actually how, like, in a roundabout way, how Brandon and I became friends. Like,
pretty much, yeah.
Like we became friends on Facebook, but it was at JB Love Drafts where everything was just like, dude, we're bros now.
Yeah, like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it was a good time. We met up. That was Snake Father, Slugs, Velvet Youth. Oh, I'm so sorry, band. What was that other band's name?
It was Chris Demon, and then
Chris Demon, but the band after Chris Demon is the one I'm forgetting.
Wretched Tongues headlined.
No, Velvet Youth headlined.
No, Wretched Tongues did.
No, you're right.
You left before they played because you got like super fucked up.
Yeah. I usually don't get that messed up at shows, but I got fucked up. I got really fucked up. But yeah, dude, like the first band came up, me and him are up there, and we're just getting it in, and it's like, like this is what it's all about: meeting new people. You know, it's an awesome community. It's an awesome scene.
It is.
Like what really got me into the scene. I know you're gonna ask me here in a bit, so I'll just tell you now.
Oh yeah.
What really got me into the local scene was I have some friends that are in local bands. Well, the one band, As Beings, they're technically a New Jersey band, but they do have residents that live in PA, so
Well,
they count.
according to them, they'll be in Pennsylvania within the year anyway. So.
Yeah. But, Chris Hogan is a very good friend of mine. He's like my brother. He's the vocalist for As Beings, and this dude he just did everything within like a couple months that I've been wanting to do almost my whole life.
Right.
And we always talked about playing together, sharing a stage together, and that opportunity may come up in the near future, hopefully. And going to his shows and seeing someone that you're close with like that, living their dream, doing what they love, it just fucking gets you going. It's like, yeah, dude, I got to do that. I need to do that. And another group of friends of mine, all the bros, and If Not For Me, I've seen them several times. Yeah. And every time I go to one of their shows, it's amazing. Probably my favorite show I've seen with them is when they opened up for Kill Switch at Launchfest.
Yeah,
that show was fucking...
See, like, If Not For Me is one of those bands, it's really weird because the first time I've ever seen them live or even heard of them was when they played Punk Rock Prom back in May with Renovair, Elsewhere, The Riot.
That's the first time you heard of them?
Yep. Blind
Choice.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the first time I ever heard of them. And ever since I saw them, dude, like, and I started following them, they are everywhere. They have, like, their hands in everything. Like one of them's a sound guy, I think, for, like, the Love Drafts, like, business.
Yes.
Like,
Hayden.
Hayden.
Yeah.
It's like they're on, like, all these shows. Like, they are, like, everywhere.
Well,
they do all kinds of crazy stuff.
And I wanted to ask, like Brandon and stuff, man, because it's, for me, I'm 41, so doing this a lot, when we were younger, it was cool, but you still had physical CD sales. You had, like, now digital age. Like, the thing that I love about it, and I try and tell people, like, being a fan and seeing thousands of shows, now your live shit matters.
Yep.
And there's so many bands, man, that I've been seeing that like, half the time, dude, especially from around here, and they take it serious, the vocalist is better on stage than he is. So for you, like, how, I mean, one, we all have families and stuff too, but with the time consuming and stuff, is it not difficult? And, like, I mean, it's definitely worth it and everything, but I mean, for you, has it changed over the years where...
Well, I've never actually played a show yet.
Oh no!
My first, I played on stage one time in my life, and that was,
wasn't it?
It was with Trainwrecked, another band that has, I'm good friends with. They're local. They're Pittsburgh. I seen them live with As Beings for the first time. Funny enough, the second time I played with them was also with As Beings, but the first time I seen them, my buddy Chris from As Beings, the vocalist, invited me out to their show, and we went out, and Trainwrecked played before them, and I was like, yo, these guys are fucking fire. And I started talking with Amon and Caleb after the show, and we, like, clicked. Like, we became bros, like, right then and there, and we stayed in contact. I would message them every now and then, and I threw a suggestion out there. I'm like, yo, like, next time you guys come to Harrisburg, you should let me hop up on stage with you and play one of your songs with you. And they're like, dude, name a song. And I was like, seriously? I was like, fuck yeah, all right, let's go. They sent me the music, and I learned the song. The song's called BDSM, by the way. You can stream it on any streaming platform. And they play that song almost every show they play. They use that song to close their set. So I got to close their set with them. Awesome. And that moment when I got up there and I heard everyone in that crowd yelling for me, like cheering me on and shit, and playing, and we got into it. Like, I had people come up to me after that telling me, like, there's no way that's your first show. Like, they couldn't tell. Like, I looked like a seasoned pro up there from what people were telling me. It's like, you do this. This isn't something that you just started doing. I'm like, no, this is the first time I've ever did this. But it felt like it was like the millionth time I've done it. It just seemed so fucking natural. It felt so right. And that was when I was like, in my head, I was like, this has got to be something I do. I have to do this. Right. Like, this is something I've won.
So that leads me to ask, like, being that you haven't played any gigs before that Trainwreck show, or before what you will inevitably do with what, like, being that you've never done that before, it's like, was it an easy process for you? Like, how do you get noticed in those regards? Do you just kind of put yourself out there? Do you create content? Was it hard to get integrated with that, or?
I mean, for that song to play with them specifically, no. All I did was, like I said, I was just mostly fucking around and just asked them, and they were like, "Yeah, pick a song," and I was like, "Shit, all right." But I mean, I do I'll do like, I have some original songs I have posted on Facebook, like some of my own like original music. I've had some covers I posted on Facebook, some Kill Switch covers, Lamb of God, Asking Alexandria, shit like that. I have some covers and stuff that I post. I do music content. I haven't been doing it lately because I've been busy with work and practice and learning the When Hell Ascends the Night set, all this stuff. So I haven't really had time to do any covers. But I'm trying to like stay away from covers.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's good for like, it gives the audience something that they're familiarized with. It's like, oh hey, like this dude covered a freaking 80s rap song and he made it metal. Like I want to look at that. Hell yeah. But so yeah, like I had that content out there, but when it came to like getting up there and actually doing it, I didn't feel nervous at all. Like I was excited to do it. Like I wasn't like butterflies in the stomach, like I'm gonna get sick. I was ready.
You were basically like born to be a showman and you didn't even realize it.
Pretty much, I guess. Yeah, like I'm hungry for it. And I would be, well, my friend Chris, he helped me like find bands and shit in the past. Like he'd go on Craigslist for me, like people looking for a guitarist or band mix, and like he never gave up on me. That dude, if it wasn't for Chris, I probably wouldn't even be with When Hell Ascends Tonight, because after some stuff happened with a previous band, I don't remember if it was a band or if it was one of my side projects, shit fell apart. I was ready to just give up. I was like, it's clearly not for me. Like, right. I can't get anything to work. I was just about to sell all my gear and just say, I did sell a lot of my gear. But I made a post because Chris kept on hounding me. He's like, dude, just do it. It's something you love doing. And then I played that train wreck show, and that's when I was like, yeah, I'm not giving up. So I made a post on Facebook, and Matt reached out to me, the drummer for When Hell Ascends Tonight. He's reached out to me before, and I just forgot. And we got to talking, and they invited me up. They sent me tabs for a couple songs to learn, and they were like, just learn 2 of them. Come on down. I was like, fuck that. I was like, okay, but I was like, fuck that. I'm gonna learn like as many of these shits as I can. I think I learned all but 2 of the set. I learned every song but 2 of them, and the 2 songs that I didn't learn, I think, was Virtues and Liminal. Those are the 2 songs I didn't know when I went up there. When I went up there, they were like, so what do you know? And I was like, just play your set, and I'll hop in where I can play. And I feel like I killed that shit. Right. I mean, like, granted, I had tabs. They sent me tablature, so it was easier to learn. I didn't just have the stems to work with. I actually had, like, you know, the tabs for it. So it made it, like, so much easier. But, like, going up there and playing it, I feel like they loved me from the rip. I mean, I liked them from the rip. And I tried. I gave it my all when they sent me those tabs. And I didn't want to go up there with the bare minimum. I wanted to, like, show these guys, like, yo, like, you said do 2. Well, here's all of them but 2. Like, what's up? No, I'm serious. Like, I'm taking this stuff serious, and I'm showing you that I'm being serious about it.
Right. That's super cool. See, like, I felt like, just based on the content that they put out, that I feel like after meeting you, you'd fit in with them really well. And Chad, I will tell you that's because it's my favorite What song, and I feel like you should listen to it if you haven't already. And I want to ask you, Brandon, the song Fallacy. Like, I'm generally not the type of person who's like into super like chuggy bits, but like, you know the part I'm talking about, like the part where he leads in the "you should have kept your mouth shut," and then it cuts into that like real chuggy, like, you know, like, how fun is that to play? Like, I'm not a musician, so I don't, like, when I hear parts like that, like, the little pleasure sensors just fucking go like haywire. Yeah. But like, but as a musician, that has to be hella fun to play.
Dude, when it comes to any kind of breakdown, that like it just slaps, and you get to that part where the build up comes, and then you just get into it. Like, anything like that's amazing. But Fallacy, specifically, I love that part myself. It's awesome.
That's a great
song.
I
can't wait to jam it live.
Yeah,
I really
can't. You should listen to that.
Any kind of pop. Like I love the whole I actually got to be a part of Nail Bites at Incarceration when they did the first Wall of Death.
Oh, really?
Out Flash. So for me, that's the type of stuff. Because being as a fan and not a musician, like being on in that type of like vibe and experience and the stuff for you guys, seeing that and then even what you were saying with not really being on stage, dude, it's so much fun. And even doing what I do, man, I sit back and watch. I love putting these shows on and bringing these bands and having that connection. And it's like nirvana for me, man. And I can't imagine. I am jealous and I fanboy. Dude, some of like the solos and shit and just the, like just being that guy up there and the drummers. And
yeah, Matt, Jesse, Nick, and Mike. I just met these dudes 2 months ago, roughly. And like, we're fucking brothers. Like, they're my brothers. If they needed anything, I'm able to help. I got their backs. Like, those dudes are my fucking family now. You know what I mean? And I can't wait to see where we go. Like, Nick's a funny ass dude. Mike's a funny. They're all a bunch of funny ass dudes. Like we get along great. I mean, sometimes we need to maybe keep our pants on a little bit more. That's an inside joke.
I saw in the video. I'm like,
if you guys seen the release videos, you'll know what I'm talking about. But I mean, other than that kind of weird shit, yeah, it's great.
Sometimes it's the weird shit that makes the best memories.
Like your content, like being a metal band, people think like, oh, Satan, like like they're no good. They're like, no, like we're fucking comics. Like you got to be funny.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like we're kind of nailing that on the head. Well, we have still yet to get Jesse to take his pants off. In the video, you see Jesse's hands like hiding behind the amp. He's like, I'm not taking my pants off. I'm not doing it.
Hello, everyone. Editor Keith here. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a forewarning. I get a little animated in the next bit, and I drop the word like as if it were a comma. So I'm going to apologize in advance. But hey, make fun. Turn it into a drinking game or something. Maybe you'll get messed up in the first 30 seconds. But I just wanted to let you know, sorry. I think it's so incredibly funny too when you see a band and you listen to them play and like they're like these like super deep like guttural like and then like you listen to them talk or like and then in between songs you'll listen to them talk and they don't sound like anywhere like like whatever, or they'll make jokes like some of my favorite things is it's like Eric Abyss's like little bit like banter in between like songs with like him and like Nick especially. Like I don't know, like their bass player, I feel so bad for him because it feels like sometimes he's the butt of all the jokes, but like he takes it really well and takes it in good stride. Or like Eric will make fun of himself. It's like, oh, short man with the mic, like follow me, and like he's like running around in the crowd and shit. Like I love stuff like that. Like if you can make fun of yourself and like have fun with your bandmates, I feel like that translates and resonates really well with the crowd because it's like, oh, these are my people. Like these are like people I'd like to have a beer with, or I'd like to go hang out with at a party, not some uptight some bitches who are just like, just the music and then dip. You know what I mean? Like
right, absolutely.
Yeah, well, in the metal. The community, because it used to, I mean, it still does, but it gets that rap. But I love when you see somebody that's a lead singer of death metal and they have their doctorate. And the thing is mathematics, especially like. And when I used to DJ, we used to have to count beats per minute. So that was, because it wasn't the digital age.
Yeah. And
being able to manage that and the way you guys, like, especially with dual guitars and the timing and everything that puts into it, like, you get such as, like, scary rap. But, I mean, it's...
Harmonies, dude. Harmonies are sexy as fuck. You gotta harmonize those guitars.
And it's intelligent, man. Like, it's not... A lot of people are just like, oh, you're in a band. Like, you're some kind of... riffraff, but
Yeah.
I think it's phenomenal, dude.
So, Chad, Brandon alluded to earlier that he faced some hardships, like when things kind of fell through for past projects. With you not being a musician, you're more in the booker and promoter side of things. What are some hardships that you faced working with maybe not just the local bands, but maybe other promoters, other bookers, bands? You don't have to name drop. We're not here to talk shit on anybody.
Yeah, I'm friends with. I had to learn in the beginning because, like, one, I wanted to make sure everybody was guaranteed.
Right.
So when and I'm like, oh, like, okay, like 300 to play tonight, and or like doing this and that. So I had to learn quick, man. I lost $2,000 in 1 month in October last year.
Rough.
Yeah, and from and not really having a backbone with some people, I've overbooked. Most of for me, it's just the kind of politics with it, because there's a lot of really cool venues, and there's places that I've done shows on a Monday night and we packed the place, and then you can't get back in, or there's these little, and it's not even that. That's one reason I love being able to do it here. And I can mess with my lineups a little bit more. I'm going to do some stuff with not having the headliner go last. Yeah, just being especially for me, set list, man, or having a lineup is really important. So that kind of stuff, you make mistakes kind of there. But I don't know, man. I just kind of roll with the flow and try and be cool and genuine about it. So if people need, the kind of, and there's a lot of scums in it, man.
I actually have a question for you, being a booker. So if you overbook somebody, like if you overbook a venue, you have too many bands, but they're already locked in, that makes their set smaller.
Yeah.
So to help with the bands, would it be maybe more beneficial to I don't want to say underbook, but maybe find that neutral medium, so where the bands, each band that you have there will be able to perform at least a 35, maybe a 40-minute set or something. That way they're getting more than just 2 or 3 of their songs out before they got to pack up and the next band comes up.
And that's what I started doing, because you see even in the love drafts and some of these shows where the lineups are so freaking big, and I understand it because you're paying for a major act. No, I am downsizing. I mean, the September 9th show we have, the whole thing's all day, so there's 7 bands. I'm not doing more than 3 to 4. I like a band to be come in. I usually, the shortest I ask for is 45 minutes, unless you are really up and coming and young. I like it to be that feature, and that's what I mean with the lineups and stuff. You got to be able to and I always throw one kind of band that's a little off into the gig because it breaks it up. But
right.
Yeah, so, and then the headliners too, man. It's hard because a lot of you guys and there's bands that stay around are fans, but you're all there for that band, and you start getting tired at 10 o'clock, 11. So I actually started moving them to third. So, and then the fourth band, I can be able to give, an up and coming band or somebody that doesn't mind playing for free, any type of exposure or something, or so kind of it works. Right. But yeah, smaller amounts of bands and longer time, I found out work way better.
Yeah. Well, that's actually something for my show, and by the time this episode airs on YouTube, my concert will actually be announced. But I have 6 bands who are playing that day, right? And the music starts at 5, and we're trying to say maybe go till 11:30 midnight, because we're staying open till probably 2 for alcohol and stuff like that. And I was okay, so we got to figure out set times and stuff, and we were we were trying to get as many bands as we possibly could for it, right? And I actually we got up to 6, and then I had 2 more bands reach out to me, and I reached out to my old man, because he's actually despite my story before, he's the one that actually pitched this idea for doing a metal show because he's got a golden ticket now. So, but I was like, hey, do we want to?
Not looking too bad now, am I, Dad?
Yeah. But no, I was like, hey, do you want to do any more than 6? Like, I have some other bands who are interested. He's like, well, do you think 6 is enough? And I was like, yeah, especially with the talent that we have. And that's not discrediting anyone else who wanted to join, because like Sinister Slain reached out, and I love those guys. Like, from what I heard of them, like, they kind of give me that Pantera vibe, and like,
yeah, they're
like,
cool.
they're like a less problematic Pantera.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, if I'm waiting on one band to lock in their spot, if they don't, I'll reach out to you. I would have loved to have them play, but I honestly feel like if we would have added them to the bill, it would have oversaturated it. And with me being a first-time booker, I didn't want to overbook.
No, you want it to be a very good experience for the first time. You're trying to make everything perfect, as you should.
Oh, exactly. And like, so as far as the lineup, like, we're bringing in like Geode, who's like in an all, like, at least as far as what their description says, an instrumental rock band, and like their stuff's really groovy. If you haven't checked them out, I suggest you do so. They have one single out now. It's like super good. I think it's called Squaring the Circle, something along those lines. I feel really bad. I'm like touting them, and I'm like unsure about the song. But now that I have to think about it, I'm like, and then we have like the guys in Escape Artist. Like, I'm good friends with all those boys. They're an incredible band. They're going to be playing with us. The Aegean. I actually play D&D with their singer and guitar player. So like, as soon as I posted on my Facebook, like, hey, we're looking for bands, he immediately jumped on it. Like, yeah, we'll do it. I brought we're bringing on The Art of Deception, and yes, like I just saw all those guys for the first time like last year. And
I've been plugging that open and booked them.
Yep. I actually, like, I went to school with their lead singer, and like once I linked up with him, he's like, oh shit, like, that's so cool. Like, and we're bringing on Elsewhere, and we are bringing on. Hello everyone, me again. I just wanted to say Suicide Puppets had to drop, so we're actually bringing on When Hell Ascends Tonight, so keep that in mind. I got 3 of my big 5 bands who were on there, and I got a really great lineup set up for this in November. And like you were saying earlier, like, I feel like once you start breaching that like 5-6 band threshold, I feel like you start really kind of like, you're hurting the bands more than you're helping them at that point. Because at that point they're like, oh well, we have like a 20-25 minute set, and then we have to dip. Like, no, like, at the very least I'd like them to have 40 minutes and the headliner be over like an hour or something.
Right.
Well, and the other part that I kind of found too is, well, and what you were like saying with Sinister Slain, it does suck, man, because I have people that'll hit me up and I'm like, yeah, I'd love to have you on, and I'm like, damn, and I'm trying to find like times and stuff, and it does suck to have to be able to, but and we'll definitely eventually get into the subject, but even or the not to pay to play, but if you're doing some of these, yes, you're opening for a great band, but if you're playing at 4:30 and you're like responsible for the same amount of tickets or bringing the same amount of people as a band that's going on at 8, it's hard, and it's like, so having those times down, and see, like, your lineup, dude, those guys are so professional. The switch in between, like, you're gonna have everybody's like, and it's funny, man, because I do stuff with hip hop. They are the worst at having their shit together. Y'all can bring in amps, guitars. The bassist is always carrying the bass,
drums,
and the drums.
Think of the drummer.
I can have you guys set up and done before, like, and you just like kind of like let it roll, and that's the nice part. But no, you got to help. When I saw it, dude, I'm like, damn, like. So
yeah, that's why. See, the vocalist only has to carry a mic, which is why they're for the merch table.
Yeah. Well, and that's the kind of funny thing too, is like I've been seeing like a lot of like local band content on TikTok, and like they kind of talk about like the unwritten rules of like gigging, and they're like, hey, like 15 minutes between sets, like you need to like, now if you're given longer, then take your time, but like generally in most shows, if you have like a fairly big lineup, like get in and out is
Yeah,
like,
you got enough time to run out and smoke and make it back in before the next.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's another thing I wanted to take into consideration for my show, is like I wanted to give them time to play, but I also wanted to give them time to tear down and set up as well, because we're also doing like raffle baskets. I'm going to be emceeing the event, so I'm going to be like, you know, talking about like the sponsors, the baskets, promoting the merch, the bands, the food, you know, whatever. So
I'm going to be there getting wasted. That's what I'm going to be doing.
Hey,
well, and I actually,
all money's good money.
Hell yeah.
You do with that too, when you're up and with the giveaways, like we'll do, like I do a rockabilly show where we do a pinup contest and we have like burlesque performance.
Right.
It actually helps with the bands and stuff getting off stage, because it doesn't have all the people coming up to tell them like, oh, don't pass that. You know what I mean? Like, definitely that guy, but at least they can kind of like flow. But because you're trying, you know, I mean, you're carrying out mad gear and there's some drunk dude in your face, like, man, you want to be nice, but like,
it's actually really funny, because like I've seen some posts from like, and again, and I'm not gonna name drop, because if they listen to this, they'll know I'm talking about them, and it's not bad. They're honestly right in this situation. But I saw them post on Facebook that like one of their biggest like pet peeves is when they're trying to load and unload gear and like fans are just in the fucking way.
Yeah.
And there's been a couple times, like especially at the V Spot show, where like I'd be standing like at my normal spot at the stage and they'd be coming through like loading their guitars and shit. And I'm like, oh fuck, like I need to like get out of the way, because like they're like, bro, like we need to get up here, like you need to like boot scoot, you know. So
yeah.
But I was just like, again, it's one of those unwritten rules. Like, we don't know it, but you should. It's like, it's pit etiquette, it's gig etiquette. Like, it's all those things that are, like, unwritten, but as, like, a metal fan, you should know. And it's especially good to know in the local scene as well. Because if you're going to give that same respect to, like, if Slipknot was headlining your show, you wouldn't be standing in the way of them, like, trying to... Well, at least I would hope not. At least I would hope not. You wouldn't be standing in the way of them loading all their shit, or their techs loading all their stuff, you know? But, like, treat the opening acts, the local opener...
He said it!
The same
as... see what he did there.
I see it. See what I did there? Treat the opening acts with the same respect as you would the headliner. Like, I have two main mantras in what I do, is it's like you go just as hard as the opener as you would for the closer, because the opener has one of the hardest spots. They have the smallest crowd, like I shouldn't say the smallest crowd, but they have the smaller crowds. Like they have to, like, it's their job to try to hype the crowd up and get them ready for the following bands and stuff. Like they have a much harder gig than the headliner does. Like a lot of the times the headliner, as long as they're entertaining, all they got to do is just show up. You know, like, and play their music, like, provided there's no technical difficulties or anything.
Yeah,
but
by that time, all the fans are already shit-faced and they're like, yeah, let's go.
And building the vibe, and especially with the first bands and stuff, and trying to have it all kind of flow is, you know, it is a lot, and like it's hard on them. And I try and make sure on my end that you guys are like taking care of for the dumb stuff. Like, you need water, like I'll provide food, or like I help pull in gear, and kind of, because it's me having that rapport with the bands, you get a different performance out of them. It's more comfortable. It feels like, and that's the cool thing about here is like they call it CBGBs, or your grandmother's basement, because it's just that comfortable, you know, kind of, you know, feeling. And that's one reason too with you, Keith, like friggin' the band's jumping on with you, like, and with Brandon, like, you love this, like, this is real, this is something that exists to us.
Hell yeah.
That love and that passion, like, dude, I could see with you, Brandon, like, just talking about it and the reveals, and, you know, like, how.
Oh, I annoyed them. I was so annoying to them. I already know it because I was one of them like almost every week. Like, yo, when are we gonna reveal this already?
Yeah.
Can we reveal it yet? Like, when's it gonna happen? They do know, however, that there was a couple people that knew about it, and they know that you, Keith, were one of those people.
Yeah.
So I was like, I did tell a couple people, but they're gonna keep their mouth shut.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing is with me is like there's a lot of people who confided in me with like little like inside secrets, and they're like, hey, we're releasing a video on this day, like wink wink nudge nudge, or hey, like we're playing like this tour, wink wink nudge nudge, and I'm like, hey, your secret's safe with me, you know what I mean? And like, and the one really cool thing, Chad, you were saying about like you wanted to build a rapport with the bands. That's actually one thing I really wanted to focus on, like with my show, because it's like, you know, every single band aside from Geode, because their drummer, who I think kind of runs all their social media stuff, he didn't have me on Facebook yet, so I reached out to him through Instagram. But every single band that is playing my show, they all reached out to me. I didn't reach out to them. And the thing I really respect about that is it's like, like I didn't have to, you know, make an ass of myself and go out and seem desperate, being like, please. And secondly, every single one of these guys, like every single band, you know, they're basically donating their time. I was like, hey, if you got fees, like, let us know your cost and we'll work with it. And they're like, don't worry about it. Like, if anything, just help with gas. And I'm like, I can't express how fucking cool that is. But something I'm trying to do, because even though it's a benefit show, it's to help raise money for my dad's fire company. At the end of the day, like, I know being in a band isn't necessarily like the most lucrative job at times, so I still wanted to do something for them. So when we had our meeting last Thursday about what we're doing for Reignite Fest, which is what I'm calling it if I didn't plug that already, is that like we're definitely feeding the bands, no cost. Like, I'll eat that, you know what I mean? But another thing is too is like if we can get like sponsors, like, because I know Cabal, you said you were going to sponsor. We got a couple local restaurants who are going to be sponsoring and donating stuff for baskets and whatever. Like, whatever money is made from like the sponsorships is like we're divvying that up and giving it to the bands, because it's like, you know, they didn't have to donate their time to us, and they did. So I want to show them that like how much I truly respect and admire that they were willing to help a community that they're not even a part of, which is funny because other companies in the same community, like as my dad's fire company, would sooner stomp his out than they would try to help him out and bolster them up, which I mean, again, we could do an entire other podcast about that, but that's incredibly sad to me that, you know, it takes people from, you know, an hour and a half plus away in different communities to come help a community that, you know,
right,
or come help a volunteer fire company that needs it. And it's not just his company that's struggling, you know what I mean? Like, it's companies all over the place. You can't get volunteers, you can't get funding, fundraising's hard, like, you know, and it's just weird to me that, you know, you see communities all over the place, whether it be, you know, a religion, a sexuality, whatever, and they all build each other up. But then you look at this community and they just want to like take a dump on each other all the time. They want to stamp each other out just so they can bolster themselves up, and I think that's incredibly sad.
Yeah.
No, you're definitely right. It is 100% sad.
And that actually harkens back to our community, the local scene, where you get a lot of these bands or promoters or bookers who are like out for blood. Like they're into the whole pay to play thing. Like they're not willing to play unless they're the headliner, or they don't want to work with certain bands. Like, it's at the end of the day, like, it's all business. Excuse you.
Yes.
My dog's scratching.
That's awesome.
But
no, and I'm sure you'll eventually get into it, but like even for me, just doing like this, man, like I'll hear stuff, or the one thing with being a promoter is none of this is original ideas. It's basically you're a fancy event planner. So all the shows, like any of the stuff, it's been done. But you'll see a lot of like the competition, and which is great. You know what I mean? You're trying to get people to come out to like your show and stuff. But dude, I'll be involved in like, or someone will say something to me that so and so said this or blah, and I'm like, what the hell? I like, but yeah, just trying to stay out of some of the drama and the different like, dude, I will help anybody out. I don't care if it's not even my venue. I share a lot of artists I just find and see, or like, you know what I mean? If there's a cool show coming up, I don't give a shit who's promoting, who's getting paid. There's bands being put on, dude.
Right.
Like, we had the one night I was so happy between me, Effigy, and Nick from 717. We had 32 bands on stage that night in this area. Like, how cool is that? You know, but you also have to have a little bit of a backbone, and you do have to see. I've got to kind of sell myself, like, you know, with trying to do this, because I do love being up on stage, so it's fun to have that, like the different rapport and stuff. But you have to kind of like. It's not really an image, but you have this persona, and then it sucks for me too, because you think a lot of them are promoters are looked at as scumbags, or like you're trying to, you know, all this money off of bands, and like, don't get me wrong, look, if I can find like kids that are 18 and I can exploit them and make enough money and they're 23 and they can retire, we're good. Like, no, but. Yeah, like, and just kind of finding it and going through that stuff, man, because it's not all the same. And I get even the pay to play. Well, you know, there's reasons for it, but at the same time, like, so sometimes it just sucks. Like, I'll meet people, but being genuine and doing this and the way both of you guys are has gotten me such a cool reputation with bands. And when they like, I do reach out. I like certain bands, and I'll build like, and I'm like, yo, like, I would love to have you come play. This is how we do things, but and it's cool because they're like thanking me, and I'm like, hell no, thank you. Like, I'm just building. You're bringing the talent, dude. Like,
and see, it's really weird because like one thing I noticed, and I only started doing this like at the beginning of April, and it's just now like toward the end of July. By the time this airs, like early August. And like I'm getting recognized out in crowds, like, oh hey, are you Jay? Like, and I had to double check myself at the Team Tinman show. Lily, the nail bites photographer, like came up to me and was like, oh hey, are you Jay? I'm like, no, I'm Keith. And like, and I didn't put like I didn't put two and two together, and I'm like, oh shit, like you're talking about like my internet persona. And so like I'm getting recognized from there, and I'm getting thank yous from them, like, thank you for everything you do for the, like, for Nailbite in the scene or whatever band in the scene. I'm getting thank yous from bands. I'm getting thank yous from like other members of the, like, hey, it's because of you guys that we're able to do. I'm like, bro, like, it's because of you guys that I'm even doing this. You know what I mean? Like, it's because of like all these bands that I have the opportunity to be able to do what I do. Like, I can go onto YouTube any given day and see a reaction to Slipknot or Ginger or Sleep Token, but you don't see you don't see a reaction to When Hell Ascends Tonight, which when you guys come up with new material, I got you.
Hey, we're in we actually got one new song done now. Well, not done. Basically done, and there's some other new shit in the works too, so it won't be too much longer. But it's coming.
You don't see a lot of reactions to bands like When Hell Ascends Tonight, or, you know, or 1,000 Pound Destruction, or, you know, like False Fears or anything like that. Like, it's the bands that don't get like the mainstream attention that I feel need the most love. Now, granted, I might have to eat crow and, you know, actually do a reaction video or two to some of those bigger name bands, just so I can bring more eyes to my channel, which will in turn get more eyes on them, because ultimately the video that got me the most views was my Signs of the Swarm reaction. So I, like, a lot of the other, and they're bigger in Pennsylvania, like, they're, like, you know, they're doing, like, something to the ilk of like a Motionless in White or a Hailstorm, where they've accrued a much bigger name for themselves in their genre, whereas like a lot of these other bands haven't yet. So I want to get as many eyes on them as possible. And if that means reacting to bands like Slaughter to Prevail or Lorna Shore or something along those lines, like those real big, like hot button bands, to, you know, help bring a little bit of eyes to the niche audience that I already have, I'll do it, you know?
And what you're doing is not, see, and it's kind of weird too, because being in this underground, like you don't want to, so many people are, you know, jaded when they're like, oh, okay, they sold out, or you're like covering these big name bands, and like, one, you're a brand, and you being smart as a businessman and doing these like with these larger bands, building those rapport it's huge. But not only that, but you're getting their fans and their hashtag, whatever that like the algorithms work, but that's bringing more eyes on to these local bands that you're seeing. And I mean, these guys on here, like, yeah, it's just, and it's killer. I mean, it's not, and everybody, like, it's just like everybody's a freaking closet Metallica fan. There's one Metallica song that you like that, like, but everybody hate them, but.
No, I get that. So let me think. So, Brandon,
yes, sir.
Since we were talking about, you know, booking our own shows and everything like that, you may not have experience with booking, but you've had experiences with, I mean, at least playing one and attending a majority of others, a lot of them being with your friends. Do you have any, like, cool, like, show stories? Like, do you like, funny story, like, crazy story, anything along them lines?
Show stories. I mean, my craziest, well, I wouldn't say crazy, but my most memorable one is definitely being able to walk up on stage and perform with the band that I explained earlier, Trainwreck. That was definitely a memorable show. As far as like crazy stories go, as a fan, on a fan's perspective, I can't really say I have that much crazy shit going on. Like when I go there, I usually go with like a buddy or two. My wife always comes with me. She's into metal too. And we just hang out. Like I'm like the only one that drinks. My wife doesn't drink. So I'm getting fucked up by myself.
Yeah. And when she does drink, she spills it all over the table.
Oh, boom. Yeah. She is guilty of that. And so yeah, I mean, most of the time we just like vibe out to the music and just chill and like bang our fucking heads, man.
Right.
But there's if not for me, my buddy Hayden, the guitarist, they always open up. Well, I shouldn't say always, but they open up with this one song, and he always has his hat on, and the first initial headbang, when he hits that note, his hat always flies off. So when it was at Launch Fest, I was sitting there, I was talking to one of the security guys, and I was like, yo, if his fucking hat falls off and it doesn't get into my reach, you need to give me that hat. And I explained to him the story. He thought it was funny. He was like, I got you. But then when he came out, he didn't even have the hat on. So I was like, fuck, all right, well, there goes that. But last time I seen them was at JB's in Mechanicsburg, I think. Yeah, it was JB's in Mechanicsburg. And I was like right there where Hayden stands. I was like, I'm going to get this fucker's hat. And they opened with that song again. His hat flew off. Or no, it didn't fly off. I'm lying. I'm sorry. He took it off and laid it down. And I was like, God damn it. And the drummer, Cody, came out. I'm like, Cody. I was like, give me that fucking hat. And Cody gave me the hat. And I was fucking wearing his hat the whole time. And at the end of their set, I walked up to him and I was like, yo, can you sign my hat? He was like, yeah, dude, sure. I was like, here's a fucking silver Sharpie. And he goes to sign it. He's like, is this my hat? And I lied to him at first. I said no. And then he went to sign it. And I was like, yes, it's your hat. And he was like, I'm not signing it. And I was like, dude, just like sign it and give it to me. He was like, no. And I was like, how about I sign it and give it to you? And it was just, I mean, like stupid little shit like that. But I mean, like, I just go to have a good time.
Yeah, dude, I hear that. Well, what about you, Chad? With you being more on the booker side of things, have you witnessed like anything like funny or with attending shows, have you witnessed anything funny or like wild, or have you yourself done anything funny or wild at a show? Like,
that I can remember. Yeah, no, yeah, dude. I've been to at least over 1,000. You said about Rock Allegiance.
Yep.
I was at I got to meet like Greta Van Fleet, and I got lucky and they screwed up my VIP pass so I could go anywhere I wanted. But I was chilling next to this girl, and I mean, we're a bigger lady, and out of nowhere, dude, she just kind of like slumps over and just starts rolling down the hill. And I'm like,
no.
Everybody's watching her roll. Like, it got like completely silent. And then when she got to the bottom, everybody's like, yeah.
Yo.
Wow.
So, well, in some cool moments, man. Like, God, some of the pits, like, we did my honeymoon, actually, which is this shirt here. Welcome to Walkville, dude. Lamb of God, man. The fucking pit was insane. And, dude,
I believe it.
So bloody and bruised. And, you're talking 8,000 to 10,000 people just freaking. It just is constant, and yeah, and it's just those moments and that kind of stuff, and seeing like, and I mean, and doing the shows with like the nail bite and different things. But the worst thing I ever seen though was at an Aerosmith concert with a fat guy who was butt naked with pimples all over his ass. That was
wow. That's
okay, and
horrible.
The show ends there. We're good. Good night.
Welcome to metal. Well, not Aerosmith, but yeah.
Now, see, it's really weird for me. So, like, I've had a lot of really cool experiences in concerts for as long as I've been going to them. But in terms of local shows, this one didn't happen to me so much as I witnessed it. So I went to the Fit for an Autopsy show, what was it, last month, a month and a half ago? And one of the bands wound up having to drop off. And then, but Traverse was still basically opening, and their sound guy, like, not their sound guy, but one of the sound guys from Love Drafts, like, he was just not having a good day. Like he was plugging, like they were, they had things plugged into the wrong things. He was trying to mark things off as one things where they really weren't, like. They're trying to do sound, and like I think drums was coming through guitars, or like I don't know how like all sound works, but it was like not good, right? And then Jamie, like all he did was like a little bit of air intake. He's like, oh boy. And the sound guy heard this and he wigged the fuck out. And he was like, fuck this, I'm not blah blah blah.
They always do.
And like, and then like then he started trying to take chords from the other bands who were already set up and good to go, and he got caught doing it, and he was just, they're like, dude, like what the fuck are you doing? And he was just like, fuck that, and then like he walked the fuck out.
Yeah,
like
they always do.
Yeah, he walked out before Traverse came on, and like, and don't get me wrong, like they made chicken salad out of chicken shit. You know what I mean? Like they made the best of a bad situation. Like there were points like they only played a 3-song set. You know what I mean? Because like the people they got in for sound was like they got the girl who was running lights to do sound, and then they had this other guy who I guess ran sound for them, but. Like, I don't know if it was an off day or they called him in or what, but they're like, hey, we need you to come in and do sound. He's like, I'm fucked up, but okay. He came in and he was
Love
like,
Draft's board is huge, man.
Yeah. And so, like, and like I said, this old, like, the sound guy that walked out had all the shit labeled weird, so, like, guitars were coming out of this amp, and, like, Eric's mic would cut out, like, there'd be times he'd be singing, his mic would cut out, and then he's, like, looking at the back, like, like waving his mic around, like
yeah. All you have to do is ask for more in the monitor, and they're like, "God damn, you do it yourself!" Then.
Yeah, like that sound guy, and like don't get me wrong, like I don't shit on sound guys because it's like it's because of them that these concerts work, but that guy like shit on that entire set, and I felt so bad because like. I mean, you guys have all, I'm assuming you both have seen Traverse, like, they don't put on bad shows. So it's just, like, the fact that, everyone was still super supportive of them, being like, hey dude, like you did the best with what you could do, and you still sounded good despite the fact that there were some sound issues, and like it was, despite the fact it could have been a hell of a lot worse, like they did really well. And it was also really cool because like while they were tearing down and getting ready for the next band, like Eric looks at me, he's like, hey, like go to the back and tell them to hold up for merch until I get back there. And then just me and their guitar player Mike's girlfriend were just slinging merch the entire time, like waiting for them to come back. We're like, fuck it, we're not waiting, we're just gonna sell. So like, but that was a really like off the wall experience. Now in terms of like non-local bands, I went to the Psychotherapy Sessions tour last Wednesday with Butcher Babies, Nonpoint, Guar, Coal Chamber, and Mudvayne.
Oh yes.
And
I'm sorry.
like that show was fucking wild. So like I didn't get to like the entire Butcher Baby set. I got like the last song because I was too focused on getting merch. And let me tell you something, Montage. I'm calling you out right now. How the fuck are you gonna tell me I can't have a wallet chain, but then all these other motherfuckers wearing trip pants and huge ass wallet chains, you let them?
Yeah,
that's a
every time.
Boo! Like
Yeah,
but
yeah.
And then on top of that, they're going like their merch was like credit card only. So like anytime I go to a show, I take out cash. So I'm like, this is what I strictly have for merch. So like, oh, we don't take cash, we take card. So if you want to run over to the booth real quick and get a prepaid, I'm like, son of a bitch. So I had to go and get a prepaid. Yeah,
that's
like
funny.
it's dumb. But no, like the wildest experience. And let me tell you something. Like I've seen Rammstein live. I've seen Slipknot. Like seeing Guar was an experience. Was an experience, dude.
I'd love to see them live.
Oh yeah.
Like
was that, I have a question, not to cut you off.
No, you're good.
Was the picture that you posted, was that like your blood from a pit, or did they like spray shit all over you?
No. Okay, so no, they sprayed stuff.
That's fucking awesome.
I wasn't in any pits. I was right along the gate, and they were spraying stuff. So like they brought out like a Vladimir Putin, and they ripped his like arms off, and they cut his chest, and he was like spraying everywhere. There was like another one where like they brought out like these like buzzsaw looking like props, and it just had like a hose that shot blood. And I recorded that video, and I'm gonna post it on YouTube at some point here soon. But I'm telling you, one of those fucking stagehands was deliberately aiming for my phone. Like no word of a lie. So like I had my phone up like this, right, and I'm recording this song, and he looks at me and he aims right dab on my phone, and he stayed there for a couple seconds. Like I had to move just to like so it wouldn't get sprayed. Like I had to take my phone apart, like take my case off and clean it and shit. But no, dude, it was like a super fun experience. I love seeing it so much. Like I was just covered from head to toe in like blue and red fucking just like, I don't know if it's like a food dye water or whatever. Like I actually thought it was going to be more gross than what it was. It was kind of like getting sprayed with Kool-Aid, but like,
Did it taste good?
no,
It's not coagulated.
no, it's not coagulated. It's all just liquid stuff. But I think they maybe put something in it to make it like seem a little darker than what it is. I don't know, but
I saw, man, like 98. And they actually ate Hillary Clinton. They brought this person out, like, and this big ass worm came out.
yeah,
And they just, as soon as they ate her, the blood went everywhere.
yeah.
And they're
These
not
guys are
the
fucking
greatest- They're
insane.
not the greatest band, but the fucking show is phenomenal.
Well, no, they put on a great, like a really good show this time. So like, and it was really weird. They had like the scene like it's a movie, but like this prop where like their lead singer like had like these udders, like, and they brought out this little green like alien thing, and it was like pretending it to catch my drift, and it was like biting the tips off of it, and it was fucking spraying everywhere. Like
Jesus fucking
it
Christ.
was.
Dude.
For when this comes out on audio, I'm making a subtle bourgeois joke, if you catch my drift. But yeah, like it was wild. And then like another thing too, like with that show is it's like this was the first time I ever listened to Coal Chamber, and I didn't realize they had a song called Big Truck, and like they played that song, and I'm looking at everyone around me. I'm like, is he fucking saying Big Truck? Like, is that what it is? Like, you know, that's like something I would like picture like a 5-year-old who listens to metal running around with like a little Tonka toy going like, like, you know. But no, like every show I've been to in some degree or another has been really great. I think I've only ever been to one bad show. Actually, no, I lie, 2, and I don't think it was inherently their fault. But I'll ask you before I get into mine. Brandon, have you ever been to a bad show? You don't have to name drop if there's someone you know, but like, if it's a bigger band, they ain't gonna listen to our podcast anyway. So, screw it.
Honestly, the shows that I intentionally went to, I don't think I've ever had a bad experience. However, there's been times I went to JB's, like on a weekend. They always have live music there on the weekends. And I wouldn't be going there to watch a show. I'd just be going there with like a buddy or something to drink or like to go hang out. And this one time I went to JB's, there was like this, it was actually with my wife this time. We went to the JB's in Mechanicsburg on Carlisle Pike. And there was this fucking hardcore, I don't even know their name, so I can't name drop. But it was a 6-piece band, which I thought was a little excessive. No band needs 3 guitarists. That's just a little insane.
I don't know.
I mean,
the one I've been toting this entire show has 3 guitarists, and they're great. So,
well, I mean, if you can pull it off, do it. These guys couldn't pull it off. Like, it was bad. There was 2 dudes that like got up from their seat and like went up there. The venue at the Mechanicsburg JB's is not small. It's kind of big.
Yeah.
And you got this one dude over here and like one dude over here. And this dude over here is just like moshing by himself, like just throwing fucking arms and shit. Like he's having a good time, but he's lit because their music was honestly probably, I mean, it was trash. I don't have to feel bad for saying it because I'm not name dropping. But they were definitely trash. Like that, I didn't even want to be there anymore. Like I ordered food and they came on and I was like, yo, like, you want to leave? Like this is just fucking annoying. But I mean, as far as like shows that I specifically gone to for the actual show, never a bad experience. I've always had an amazing time.
Well, what about you, Chad? You ever been to a bad show?
Old show, Napalm Death, dude. Like I saw them at Montauk. And as for a band, like just now, it's Napalm Death. They're obviously not exactly the, most crazy technical band, but there was, dude, I don't know what the hell he was on. It was so far off and so bad. And that one sucked. And then Jesus Lizard. I don't know if you guys remember or even know who.
I feel like I've heard of them.
They used to open for or play with, or Nirvana opened for them back in the day and stuff. But I saw them, and he came out on freaking stage all doped out and with an apron and a G-string and was bitching about barbecuing. And, like, dude, like, they never played. He's screaming. People are throwing slushies at him. But
wow.
That was a bad experience.
That's wild. No, I personally can't say I've ever been to a bad show that I think was the band's fault. However, I've seen 2 bands play that I wasn't particularly high on. And I know this may sting for some people, but like when I saw like Mastodon play, I was not high on them, and I don't know if it's because like they played like mostly new stuff or whatever, but like there were people like falling asleep in the seats in the crowd, like it was. And then like you ever see that episode of Family Guy with the one ostrich in the bleachers going, hey. Like that? Yeah. We had like that one guy, like haha, like yeah, Mastodon, and then when I went out to Chicago, I saw a Ministry play. And oh my God, either the sound guy messed them up or they were just not having a good day. But
dude, I every time I've seen them, they sucked.
Yeah, like
I feel bad, but like I've seen them like 3 times.
I've heard people say they were incredible live, but like their lead singer was getting constant feedback from like the wedges and through his mic and stuff, like, and like the bass player was playing without even being hooked up for like the first 2 songs, and like then there was points where like mid set, like he would look over to the sound guy and like be up, down, like he was doing that like the entire set. Like
that happened a lot at Launchfest. Like there was a couple issues. Who was it that was playing Eternal Frequency? The lead singer, you couldn't hear her. There were some points where like you could see her like really like toting it out there, like her fucking veins were popping and shit. But like
oh yeah, like
am I just standing in front of the wrong speaker, or does like nobody hear her and everyone in the audience is like we can't hear you?
Yeah,
volume up.
If there's one thing you'll learn about Amel is that chick can belt.
Oh yeah,
she has pipes, and if you can't hear her, there's something wrong. Like.
Absolutely.
That was cool. I was a professional criminal in one of their videos.
Wait. Were you in? You said you were in one. I remember you telling me you were in one of them. It was Step Up, wasn't it?
Yeah. When they we were in the scene where they come in with the dudes around the table and
right.
Table and kicks them. Yeah, I was in the back with like a friggin' ninja outfit on, and I do get a little solo action real quick. I turn the corner and you like it's right there and you can see me, but there's a mask. I'm like, that's me.
Hell yeah,
dude. They're running around in Brooklyn, and I'm talking like the fucking on the water. In not a very good neighborhood, and they're like, "Yeah, you want to be a part?" I was like, "Fuck no!" Like you guys are in clothes, running through the hood. Like there was some dude living in the RV that was out front of the. Wow. Yeah, it was a good time. Yeah.
That's wild. Fucking yeah, that's actually one thing I would love to do, and I've like been like, and it's really weird because like I posted on the JRagnarok Promotions Instagram that like. I have like lofty goals for being in the scene, and like one of them was booking my own show while I'm doing that. One of them,
congratulations again.
Yeah, well, thank
Proud
you.
of you.
And another thing I would have liked to do at some point or another would be like to be in a music video, and I'm like slowly like getting it out there, be like, hey, like if you're ever filming something, like look me up, I'm your guy. And I remember there was one band, they haven't gotten back to me yet, and I won't name drop because like I don't know how like they are about it. I forgot. There's probably going to be audio only listeners. How like secretive they're going to be about it. But I think they're like filming something the 28th of August, and they were looking for people to like potentially like get super bloody in their video, and I'm like, I'll do it.
Like, hell yeah,
hell
yeah. But yeah, like that's always been a pretty lofty goal of mine. Well, what about you? What about you, Brandon? Do you have any like goals now that you're with When Hell Ascends Tonight, or just like being more of a face in the music scene now?
I definitely have goals. I have huge goals. Some would say that they may be unrealistic, but like I just want to put as much music out there as possible. Not like I don't want to like be in the studio and like write stuff that sounds rushed. Yeah. I want it to sound good, but like I've never really had a problem with not being able to write riffs. Like I can write riffs for days. So like as far as writing on my end's concerned, got that shit handled. But one of my goals is with When Hell Ascends Tonight. I don't think I've actually expressed this to them yet, but if you're listening, I would
and you better actually support your bandmates.
No, we talked about like releasing singles, like just like recording songs, and as we finish them, releasing them and doing that, which is fine. I have nothing against that, but I do eventually want to write. I want to do an album. Right. I've been a part of EPs. I've been a part of singles. I've never written an album, and that is something that I'm like really excited to do. So that's like a goal of mine. I want to write an album.
Well, I think in this day and age, the era of the single has been, you know, fairly popular because
it's immediate content.
It's immediate content, and it's also a lot cheaper. because like a lot of them, well, like Eternal Frequency, like they mentioned in a an interview that they did, that they do singles as opposed to albums because generally albums are a lot more expensive.
Thousands of dollars.
And
But something we have going for us, our bassist Jesse, the album that everything that you on Spotify, that's Jesse. Jesse did all the mixing, the mastering.
right.
Jesse's the guy. Like we're fucking grateful. Like we're lucky as hell to have somebody like him in the band. Someone that's able to do that kind of stuff. Saves us thousands of dollars.
I did the executive producer for the Burn and the Guild album, and it's definitely not. It was cool because it was something that I always wanted to do. It's on my bucket list, but definitely the amount that you pay out for it and not being like a distributor and stuff for me to make a kickback from it, it's definitely. But it's so.
Right. Now, what about you, Chad? Do you have any like goals? Being that like, again, like I know we've said this a lot, but being that you're on the booker side of the spectrum here, because it's like I do content creation, Brandon does music, you do like booking and entertainment industry stuff. Like, what are some of your goals in those regards?
Well, for me, honestly, and a lot of people ask or like say about like getting bigger and stuff with this. My goal is the bunk house. I love the whole concept of this. My wife and I both having a successful business. I grew up, in the skate shops and sponsored and like with these kids, and that was that group and that place to hang out with, and you just became this kind of like community and stuff with it. And yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to. I would like to make good money, but as for like ever getting to the point where I want to promote for like say like Sony Records or bringing, it's not really like I'm not trying to blow up. I'm just trying to have fun doing this and do some cool shit and leave a legacy rather than
Right. So like basically like you don't mind so much if it ever turns into a full-time gig. You just like to do maybe like have your name attributed to like maybe one big thing.
Well, the full-time, hell yeah. I mean, if we can do this where it's the venue and the antique shop and everything together, that's one reason like we do a lot of the side stuff like the merch.
Yeah.
That we have, because this is more of like, it's weird because it's not a venue. It's like a shop here too. So like the clothing and the style and we have like 6 different pinup companies that's all goth and like this cool stuff, and so it's more of like an entity, I guess, and just the vibe of the building and stuff. Yeah, I mean, if I could ever get my hands on a big venue, it'd be cool, but I really like the intimacy of this.
Right. What about you, Keith? What are your goals?
Yeah.
Well, like I alluded to before, like one of my biggest goals was to book a show with Reignite Fest. I am going to be able to do that, and hopefully, if this is successful, like we're gonna have about 220 tickets to sell, and if we sell out of that and this turns out to be a success, that's something that we would like to do at least once a year, maybe twice if we can push it, where we could do like a summer and a fall show. I'd really like, if my big thing is if I can't be on stage, I want to be behind it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I want to be the one who's like, hey, you want exposure? Get up here, like let's do this, you know what I mean? Now obviously there comes a point, and Chad, you know this, like there is going to be times where you're probably going to have to lose money or save money in order to do stuff like that. So that's why I'm kind of hoping that like with this benefit show we can raise enough money to where like we could keep a little back for like the next time, so then like if we want to rent a food truck or if we want to do like or if a band does decide like, hey, like I understand it's a benefit show, however, like it's a further trek for us, so we may, they may apply their rates, we at least have something that we can work with, you know what I mean? Another thing I'd really like to do is like, again, at some point or another, I think it'd be cool to be in a music video. I'm not a great actor, like I'm not that great at talking, despite the fact I'm probably one of the most long-winded motherfuckers you'll ever run into in your life. But
that's a good thing about a music video. You don't have to talk.
Oh, I know. But like I'm not a real good talker. I'm not really much of an actor, so like I don't know what I would do, but I think it'd be cool. I mean, even if it's just a live video where I pop up in the crowd for like 2 seconds, I'd be like, "Hey, there I am." Like, because technically in the Suicide Puppets video Twilight Zone, I was in that, but I wasn't in it. You know what I mean? Like it was mostly like stage shots and then shots of like around the town stuff and whatever. I mean, I was there for the filming of it. I just wasn't in it.
Right.
But like I'd like to be in a video. What is something
Killer
else
cover
I'd like to
too.
do? Like
They killed that.
what's that?
I said that was a killer cover too.
Oh yeah, they did really good with that. Their cover of "Send Me an Angel" is really good too. If you haven't heard that. Another thing I'd really like to do, and this kind of goes along with the booking thing. Now, granted, this is gonna maybe require a little bit more business know-how, and if anybody who knows me understands that like I am not financially savvy and I'm about as anxious about finances as anybody, so I'm just kind of like like anytime it involves money, I'm like, I don't know, I don't want nothing to do with it. But like maybe even like helping run a venue to a degree, like locally, like if I could like, and this is where I'm kind of hoping like this booking the concert thing pans out, because like the Danville Ballroom in Danville, Pennsylvania. Now, granted, it's its own established like venue, like they have their own people who whatever. But like, if I could help to a degree, like bring, maybe not even run a venue, but just bring the scene to like my hometown, like my neck of the woods, where it's not all like Harrisburg or Philadelphia or Allentown. Like I'd like to bring stuff a little bit, closer to me. And lastly, and now, there is at one point or another, I would like to be on the stage at least once. Like, now, Elsewhere joked about it in their podcast, and I had to laugh it off and be like, no. Where they're like, hey, like, if we ever brought you up on stage, would you sing? And I'm like, nah. Like,
what would you want to do up on a stage?
Well, ideally, because like again, I'm not musically inclined. I've dabbled with a couple instruments, but I've ultimately had to give them up because I dabbled with bass for a little bit, and then I don't know if you could see it, but I got that sumbitch like right here.
Okay.
What the hell is that?
Yeah, well, for the audio listeners, I have ganglion cysts on my wrist, and playing a bass, especially finger plucking, and I don't have very long fingers as it is for fretting. Like plucking and fretting just hurts the shit out of my hands, my wrist, and my arms. So I gave that up, and I've tried getting them surgically removed, and then doctors were like, and so I was just like, nah, I'm not even bothering with it. And then like, I dabbled a little bit with drums, but every time I had an opportunity.
Sorry, I'm Nick Fitton. I have to come up and get a cigarette.
Like I've dabbled with drums, but every time I had an opportunity to do anything with them, like I either had to load them all up and take them like an hour away from my house to do anything with them, or like I had to like mute the shit out of them so then I couldn't get the full effect because we had neighbors. So if I wanted to like pick up something like quick and be like, hey, like I don't, again, I'll mention Mushroomhead, and like I know this is like a locals bolstering podcast, but we'll talk about some other odds and ends bands. But like with Mushroomhead, they have this thing where they'll basically take two big bass drums and they'll have water pour onto the drum heads, and they'll fucking hit them and the water flies up and everything. Like I feel like that would be semi easy to like integrate into a band and pick up, because realistically it's just kind of keeping beat with the song. But like ideally I feel like if I would pick up anything, it would probably either wind up being vocals or drums, and I just have to find the time and money to invest into it and go from there. But at some point or another, whether it be next year or 10 years from now, like I don't care. Like I'm gonna be metalhead till I die, and if I don't get on stage until I'm 55, I'll be okay with that. But like right. I'd like to get on there at least at some point. Yeah. So, we are getting close to about an hour and 45 minutes. Do you guys have any further questions before we start getting into our wrap up?
Questions? No, not really.
Yeah.
Okay. So, one thing we're going to do, and I talked with you guys about this before, but for our audience, when we bring guests and stuff on, as well as ourselves, we will recommend a song that we've been listening to a lot for the past week or two to add to a podcast. We'll get one song from each of us. When we have a guest, we'll get one song from their band, or whatever the case may be. If they're a solo artist, we'll just get a song from them of theirs, and then we'll get a song that they've been jamming to as well. So we can it'll be love for the locals, but we'll also get a little bit of different integration of styles and genres and maybe musical tastes. So, Brandon, what have you been bumping the last week that we can add to the playlist?
I've actually been bumping. It's not their latest release, but if not for me, has a newer single out. Their newest single is "Feel Me Now," but the one they dropped before that, called "Demons," it actually recently reached over 100,000 on Spotify. Which, congratulations, by the way, guys! Proud of you guys. Proud as fuck. Hell yeah!
Yeah,
Demons. But that's definitely a song that I've been bumping a lot.
Yeah,
so
Demons.
That's my
really
pick.
Good track. Demons is definitely a good track. I don't know if it was the first time they played that live, but they played it at the punk rock prom show that I saw them at. And I think that was the first time they played it live.
That may have been the first time they played it live.
They tore that shit down. Chad, what about you? What have you been? And like I said, it doesn't have to be metal. Doesn't have to even be local. It can just be whatever you've been jamming to the past week. So.
Actually both kind of hardcore. Riding Out from California. They've been around for a while, and they're like hardcore punk, but heavy. A really cool hardcore band from New York City. They're actually playing in DC tonight. Is Orlando Fiasco, and my homie Joey of Cropsey owns Amplitude Studios, and he did a hell of a fantastic job. So they're all down in DC opening tonight, and so if anybody looks at Orlando Fiasco, it's freaking phenomenal.
All right, and what song from them?
Do you
have a preference?
First with song titles, I will send you one.
All right, cool. So,
what you?
Yeah. I'll get to me in a minute. So I'll actually make the playlist after we record, and when I post the video, I will add the link to the playlist in the description. So when we figure out what Orlando Fiasco song we decide, when you look up the playlist, you will see for yourself.
Well, sucks these days, man. Like digital, you can't really if it just plays, it's just going in your ear.
I hear you. So in terms of what I've been really blasting the past week, and I know I've alluded to this earlier with people kind of dunking on their popularity, but I've been really high on Sleep Token recently. So I'm gonna say Chokehold by Sleep Token is probably gonna be what I add on my end of things.
Sounds good.
So okay, and that will be our playlist or segment to the show. And we'll do two more questions as kind of like a tail end of things. So firstly, Brandon, as a musician, what advice do you have for anyone who's maybe coming up in the scene, whether it be as a musician, as a fan, just any little piece of advice? What do you got for us?
Oh man, that's easy for me. That's something I went through myself. Don't give up. If it's something you want, it's something that you love doing. Don't fucking give up. If you got people that got your back and they're supporting you, being supportive of your decisions and your dreams and your wishes, that's not easy to come by. Not a lot of people have that kind of support. You got a lot of people out there that try to tell you you can't do this, you can't do that, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. Fuck that. No. If there's something you want to do and you got your heart set on it and your mind set on it, just fucking pursue that shit. Don't give up. That's my advice. Best advice I could give anybody is just don't give up.
I respect that. What about you, Chad?
Be you. My thing was finally finding myself and being happy with who I was, and then finally the minute where I'm like, you know what, I don't give a fuck. Especially in this type of industry, because it's really easy to build a persona, and you can become that person, and you kind of lose things, or you think this is how people, this is what they want. I'm gonna go to that. Just being yourself and enjoying it. Like,
all right, cool. I can respect that. Just like don't give up, be you. On my end of things, I may take a little bit more of an abrasive approach for this one. Be respectful of the bands. Something I alluded to earlier is I have two mantras I go by. Like I said, respect go as hard as for the opener as you would for the closer. And also another mantra I go by is, respect the bands or catch these hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
hell yeah.
Don't pop up at any show or any person's content and be like, oh, like, and just talk shit. Like, listen, like, I get it, not every band will be your cup of tea, especially for the local bands, right? Because, like, if you think of it, when you think of bigger bands who are out there, like, your Slipknots and your Lamb of Gods, like, I'm sure they'll get negative comments, but, like, they probably get so many they don't even see them. But you look at a band like Elsewhere or When Hell Ascends Tonight or Escape Artist or anything like that, and you get, like, you can get a sea of good comments, but they're gonna see that one bad one, and that's gonna, like, some people let it roll off the back, and others it will, like, royally mess them up, and that's all they focus on is that bad stuff. So if you don't have anything nice to say, just keep scrolling. Don't say it. Be respectful. Unless you can get up there and do better, I don't want to hear you talk. It's just like, just be respectful of the bands, be respectful of the local scene, and at least respect the fact that they're going out, hustling, and pursuing their passion and their dreams and what they want to do. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what we all want.
Absolutely.
So, and lastly, and we'll kind of go round robin with it again. Just to end the podcast on a little bit more of a positive note, Brandon, let us know, like, what you're grateful for. Like, doesn't have to pertain to music or anything. Just it could be a turkey sandwich if you want. Like, I don't care.
I am grateful for turkey. Yeah. Besides the obvious, making the band, I am grateful for having the support I have from my wife. She has been in my corner since day one. She's been pushing me just as much as anybody else to, like, do what I wanted to do, and she's had my back. She's always been there. She's always been super supportive, and I'm hella grateful for her. I wouldn't be able to do anything without her. So that's what I'm grateful for right now.
All right, what about you, Chad?
Same, man. My wife is my backbone, dude, and we can't do anything here with the music without what she's doing with the shop and the vintage and the antiques, and to support my dream and hers at the same time. No, man, I'm a pain in the ass. So you guys went through it this morning with me. And, but, dude, seriously, she's a saint. So, yeah, man. And it's a partner, dude. That's what I'm grateful.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, while I am grateful for my partner, the one thing I am gonna say, I will give the flowers to you two today. I am grateful for you two, because ultimately this little dream of mine of starting a podcast wouldn't have been well, I could have done it alone, but let's be real, who wants to sit and listen to me talk for 2 hours? You know what I mean? It's cool having stories and stuff that we can all bounce off of each other, and it's cool to ask questions and get to know other people's story and perspective on things. So I'm going to say for today, I'm grateful for you guys, because if it weren't for you guys, I would probably just have some dumb, boring ass show on the internet. So
we love you too, man.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
The beard got me from day one.
Yeah,
it usually does.
And Ginger, I had to support.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So very last thing before we do our official sign off is just anything in particular you want to plug. Brandon, you go first.
I'm not at liberty to discuss some things right now. There is some stuff. There is some stuff going on. We are open for shows. We're booking shows right now. So if anybody out there listening to this is a promoter / booker, and you're looking for a fucking death / metalcore band to fill a bill, hit us up. Hit us up on socials. We'll be glad to help. We're definitely booking. We got some new music being wrote. That'll be, there'll be releases for that stuff. There's also something else pretty damn exciting that we kind of just got news of today. But like I said, I can't get into it. But yeah.
So basically,
you'll see.
So basically, keep some eyes on the When Hell Ascends Tonight socials, and you'll be updated on some new stuff. Chad, what about you? You got anything you want to plug? Any shows coming up? Any things in the works?
I don't think till September 9th because we're doing like the remodel and everything. I am going down in August. At the end of August, we'll be in Savannah, Georgia. So we're actually going to go down and catch Defiant with Quiet Riot, which will be real cool to see them in Florida. But yeah, September 9th, we bring punk back, and it's a hell of a lineup with like Rutabaga Suicide, Coffee with Lions, Curse Words, the A-Knots, and No Comply, which is actually really like heavy punk from the Cumberland. But
hell yeah. Well, I hope the show goes well for you. So keep your eyes out for When Hell Ascends Tonight and Cabal Entertainment shows, bookings, and any information like that. I will link their stuff in the description down below, as well as I'll link my stuff. As for me, the only thing I really got going on right now is, again, Reignite Fest. Geode, Escape Artist, The Aegean, The Art of Deception, elsewhere. November 11th at the Danville Ballroom in Danville, Pennsylvania. Make sure you turn up and turn out. Also, in terms of just I have a lot of shows coming up that I'll be at, but if by chance you're out in Scranton on August 19th, I've been toting Traverse the Abyss pretty much this entire episode, so I'll be going out to support them and Slapjaw, Saint Diablo.
I like them a lot.
Toothless is going to be out there. Bro. Okay, so a little bit of a blunder here. I initially said bro job, and I knew I got that wrong. I knew that didn't sound right. It's actually Brutality. It'll be Traverse the Abyss, Brutality, Slapjaw, Saint Diablo, and Toothless. So come out August 19th and turn up for Eric's 30th birthday party. It'll be a jam. But I will be out at that show at the V-Spot Bar in Scranton August 19th. Again, turn up, turn out, let's party. So until next time, with our next guest, which will be the guys in Elsewhere.
Hey, yo.
Excited, can't wait.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Keep it heavy, y'all. We'll see you next time. Good night.
Stay heavy.
Bye-bye.
Look up their mouth shut.